parasites, pathogens, antigens. Shedding is what removes the pathogens, so again, the reason why we do strict hand washing is to make sure we get all of those pathogens off, as well as the shedding skin. Protects against bacterial toxins, and it also protects against harmful environmental chemicals such as the sun. Skin prevents loss of water through evaporation. So it helps to prevent dehydration. We have a lot of moisture in our skin. If you've ever noticed in the summer months that your skin always feels moister, right? It doesn't feel as dry. And as it gets colder out, your skin starts to lose that moisture and it gets really dry and cracky and itchy. All right, so that's loss of moisture, which is leaning towards dehydration. Right? It either means you're not drinking enough or you don't moisturize enough. So think about that. You gotta add moisture to your skin, especially in the winter time. There is keratin in the epidermis, and again, release of sebum from the sebaceous glands. Regulation of body temperature, we said, occurs in the subcutaneous layer. Right, it is loss of excess heat and protection from cold. When we constrict our blood vessels in cold conditions, the blood vessels do what? They constrict so there's less blood flow. So therefore, we have diminished heat loss because we're holding the blood in there. In cold weather, in warm weather, we have dilation of the blood vessels. And when our vessels dilate, we allow the heat to dissipate. Okay? So constriction is reduced to the skin surface to diminish heat loss, and dilation is to the surface to allow heat to dissipate. Evaporation of perspiration is what allows your skin, allows you to draw heat from your skin. Don't worry about the names of the corpuscles, that's not important, but the fact that we have nerve endings in the skin, and anytime we damage nerves, that's called neuropathic pain. All right, when we damage or the skin or the layers of skin, we see nociceptive pain. Did you guys learn anything about pain?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I guess it's in no. Nociceptive is divided into somatic and visceral. All right, somatic pain is skin, bones, joints. Visceral pain is your organs. Neuropathic pain is your nerves. So somebody with shingles, somebody with diabetes who has that numbness and tingling and that burning feeling, that is neuropathic pain. Someone who has an amputation and has that phantom limb pain, that is neuropathic pain. All right, it is not sensory pain such as your nocioreceptors. Your nocioreceptors, we actually have receptors in our skin that feel pain. And those nociceptors, if we touch something hot, that information travels through our peripheral nerves up to our spinal cord, up to our brain, and the brain says, hey, pull your hand away, stove is hot. And we pull our fingers away because we feel the pain, we're sensory. All right, so that's part of your nociceptive pain. And nociceptive pain all is about receptors. All right, visceral pain, when we talk about visceral pain, it's usually squeezing or tightening of an organ. When the person is having a heart attack, it's an organ, it's visceral pain. After a surgical procedure, when an organ has been manipulated or operated on, it's visceral pain. All right, so there are receptors, pain receptors and sensory receptors in the organs. All right, we can feel pain on the surface, but we also can feel deep tissue pain. All right, if somebody cuts you with a knife and it's a deep cut, you're gonna feel deep tissue pain. If you fall and skin your knee, it's gonna be more of a superficial pain. Superficial pain, of course, pretty much goes away very quickly, right? Especially with kids, you pick them up, you wash it off, you kiss the boo-boo, put a Band-Aid on, and they're good to go. All right? Somebody with a stab wound isn't gonna be good to go because that pain is very deep into the tissue and could be even further. What two substances produced by the skin help to prevent dehydration?
Keratin and
there's
sebum.
two things
Keratin and sebum.
keratin and sebum. All right, the skin also acts as an absorber. We use transdermal medications such as the transdermal patches such as fentanyl. All right, the medication is absorbed through the skin into the systemic system or into the blood. Your topicals, lidocaine patches, hydrocortisone cream, helps to relieve itching, all right? Lidocaine helps to relieve superficial discomfort or deep discomfort that is absorbed by the skin and treats localized areas. All right, lidocaine is not systemic, fentanyl patches are systemic. So fentanyl is absorbed into the bloodstream. Lidocaine, your topicals like hydrocortisone cream are only going to treat that localized area that you place that cream or that patch. All right? We're also responsible for excretion of fluid or water, electrolyte balance, and wastes. If you remember when we, the kidneys filter about 180 liters of fluid per day. And of that 180 liters of fluid per day, only about 12 to 1,500 of it is excreted as waste in urine. The rest of it is all nutrients. And those nutrients are put back into the system to help nourish the body. When we have bowel movements, all right, water is absorbed into the intestines to help move the bowels along. All right, it is absorbed into the intestines to help move it. but it's not excreted. But yet, it's excreted if we have diarrhea. We lose a significant amount of fluid with diarrhea. We lose a significant amount of fluid with vomiting. All right? Because, again, you're bringing up all those fluids that are in your body. And you lose electrolytes. Because when I lose fluids, I lose electrolytes. So if I'm losing or if I'm vomiting, I'm gonna be losing potassium. If I have diarrhea, I'm losing potassium. So I would have to watch potassium levels in those patients. All right, so at first they may be with low potassium, but as we stop the diarrhea, we have to be careful that we don't end up with hyperkalemia or high potassium levels. All right, there are different scenarios for dehydration where you, such as if dehydration is caused by kidney failure. All right, if we have kidney failure, we're not gonna lose potassium. So depending on how we are losing fluid, depends on what electrolytes we're losing. For the most part, with dehydration, our potassium levels usually go up. Our sodium levels usually go up. But with vomiting and diarrhea, we lose potassium because we're flushing it out with all that litter. All right? Where does potassium come from? Intracellular. So again, if you think about it, if we're losing potassium, we're losing intracellular fluid. All right, so we're dehydrating our cells when we have diarrhea and vomiting. Yes, no?
Yes.
Sounds good?
Yes.
Okay. Another thing about our skin is vitamin D. We go out in the sun and we absorb all that vitamin D. And vitamin D helps to absorb calcium. Without vitamin D, we're not absorbing calcium. So vitamin D is very important to the absorption of calcium in the body. What two mechanisms involved in the skin regulate temperature? Constriction and dilation. You guys are very smart. Which of the following is not a function of the skin? Obviously, right? Skin doesn't breathe. Although, how many times does somebody tell you, why your jeans so tight? Your skin isn't going to be able to breathe because your jeans are so tight, right? All right, color. Factors that influence color of skin and hair. All right, melanin is your main pigment. All right, in darker people, they have more melanocytes, so their skin is darker. Right? And in light-skinned people, we have less melanin production, so we're paler. Hemoglobin is what gives blood its color, all right? Remember, hemoglobin attaches to red blood cells, and what does hemoglobin carry? Oxygen. So hemoglobin gives blood its color, and when we look at the vessels in the dermis, we're gonna see what color?
Dark red?
Red.
Red. Very good. Carotene gives us that orangey yellow color. All right, for somebody who eats a lot of carrots, because where do we get carotene from, or beta carotene from? Eating a lot of carrots and yellow vegetables, and that gives your skin a more of an orangey yellow appearance. Biopigments are green or yellow, and that's what gives us our color for jaundice. We see jaundice with hepatitis, liver disease, albinism is loss of color. All right, these are patients or people that do not produce or have impaired melanin production. Their skin is very pale and very white. All right, there's no tone to it, there's no pink to it, there's no color. Their eyes are pink, their hair is that blonde white color. If anybody's ever seen a white rat, yes, we've all seen white rats, not in the street, okay? We've seen them in the pet store, and they have little red eyes, all right? They're albinos. They have no melanin, they have no pigment, hence the reason why they're white, and they have those little pink eyes. Yes. White gorillas. There are albino, there are other animals that I've seen that are albino. Snakes, melanocytes for protection. Is patchiness of the skin. All right? It is blanching of the skin to where it actually becomes white. All right, again, that is also a defect in melanocyte production. Cyanosis, of course, everybody knows, is that gray-blue color, okay? Flushing is when we get embarrassed and we get bright red.
Yeah, that's me.
Right, because we have more blood flow to the skin. And pallor is when we have pale skin because of loss of
Hemoglobin.
blood. So there's a reduction in hemoglobin. So we get that pale skin color that's associated with anemia. All right, so those are all the different colors that our skin can take on. All right, here, this is cyanosis. It's not such a great picture, you really can't tell. And of course, that's jaundice. All right, and you can see that the whites of the eyes or the sclera are also jaundice. Okay, so which pigment is responsible for tan brown color? Very good. All right. If we have a break in the skin, and can I just step out for 1 second? If there are actively dividing cells, all right, so wound repair is going to occur where we have healthy tissue. If we don't have healthy tissue, the wounds are not going to repair themselves. All right, in order to get those healthy cells and to get a wound to heal, and you see this with pressure injuries, debridement, removal of all of that slough, that's that thick yellow stuff, and all that black necrotic tissue to get down to the healthy part of the skin, and the healthy part of the skin is the part of the skin where we see bleeding, right? Because that tells us our skin is healthy. And not until you get to that part are you going to see healing begin. There are other things that we also need in our bodies to help with healing. One of them is nutrition, all right? A well-balanced diet, high in protein. Protein helps us to heal, all right? Vitamin C, collagen, helps our skin to heal, all right? Blood supply, which I just said to you before, we need that blood supply because we need the nutrients and the oxygen that the blood gives to help heal the skin. One of the reasons why they use hyperbaric chambers now, or hyperbaric oxygen with wound healing, is because they find the more oxygen that they give to the skin and to the wound, the faster they begin to heal. So a lot of your wound care now is all about using this hyperbaric oxygen, which is very high flow oxygen that helps the wound to heal. All right, it's, different hospitals have these wound chambers now where you can go for hyperbaric. The only thing with it is it's something that's gotta be done routinely. It's not like you do it once, all right? Infection, we know, is gonna prolong healing. It's gonna prolong the inflammatory stage of the skin, all right? And that inflammatory stage is when we step on a nail, all right? And we have a break in the skin. And the bacteria from that rusty nail is getting into the tissue and the subcutaneous fat. And it could even get into the muscle if you step on it hard enough. First thing that's gonna get to that site are your neutrophils. And your neutrophils are what? Start eating the bacteria, okay? Monocytes also help with the destruction of bacteria. The neutrophils specifically die when they cause that destruction. And when the neutrophils die, they are what become that drainage or that pus that you see at the site of a wound. All right? In order for that wound to begin healing, we need good blood supply. So we have the release of platelets. What do platelets do you know? They cause clotting. Platelets start to adhere at the site where the bleeding is, and they aggregate. So they all stick or clump together, and then fibrin wraps around it and makes it into a nice firm clot. And that stops the bleeding. But when we injure ourselves, that release of histamine is what brings about the inflammation, the redness, the swelling, and the heat to the site. What causes the pain? The release of what? Prostaglandin. So why do we give NSAIDs? Okay. For inflammation, but what else? I hear somebody saying it. It blocks the release of prostaglandin. Age also plays a very big factor. The older you are, the longer it's going to take for wounds to heal. And with age, you have a lot of underlying issues. You've got dehydration, you've got poor nutrition, you've got loss of subcutaneous fat, you've got suppressed immune system. So we've got a lot of negative things going for us as we get older, which means it's gonna take a lot longer for an older person to heal from any type of skin injury. Wound care is all about controlling infection. All right, we do wound care so that the wound does not become infected. All right, if the wound is infected, then we do wound care as well, but biggest thing with wound care is to prevent infection. When we irrigate the wound or apply bandages to an open wound, it's to prevent debris from getting into the wound. All right, so it's controlling infection. When we do wound care is a sterile procedure. All right, you don't want to do it as an aseptic or an unsterile procedure because all those germs are getting into the wound. So you want to keep the area as clean and sterile as possible. One of the biggest things, and you know when you go into the OR, is they clean your skin with betadine or chlorhexidine because that kills 99% of the germs. And if we don't kill those germs around where we're gonna cut, guess where those germs are going? Right into the wound. So it's important that you keep the area surrounding the wound and the wound itself clean. Soap and water, saline irrigation. We never pour peroxide, betadine, chlorhexidine directly into a wound unless you want somebody to kill you. All right? Moist environments stimulate healing and cell activity. All right? Whenever we say keep the environment moist, when we put a Band-Aid on, what's happening? It keeps moisture in, right? It's holding that moisture in to promote healing. When we don't have any moisture, healing takes a little longer. All right? Antibacterial ointments, Bactroban, bacitracin, those also applying them to a wound keeps the area moist.
Is that why they have the wet to dry dressing?
Yeah. We also said that as we age, we start to lose pigment, right? So what happens to the color of the hair as you get older? It gets gray, right? So we're starting to lose melanin and pigment. Sweat glands, we sweat less, right? So we don't lose as much moisture from sweating. Circulation can be much poorer depending on comorbidities that the patient has. All right, and of course fingernails and toenails. As we get older, they get harder and crumblier, and you also have to watch out for fungus. All right, a lot of those yellowing nails that peel are fungal. All right. Dietetics, remember, should be cut by a podiatrist. You never want to let a patient cut their own toenails if they have diabetes because of the risk of injury and infection, gangrene, and loss of their toes. We also know that a lot of our elderly people who live in Florida and they all flock to where the sun is and they spend a lot of time in the sun, and the sun also damages the skin. Right? It's loss of elasticity, the loss of collagen in the skin, so it doesn't have that elastic property. The skin becomes very thin and almost see-through. all right, which makes your older patient more at risk for skin tears. All right, so if you have older people or older patients, it's best that you keep them in long sleeves and long pants to help protect the skin from skin tears. Because bumping up against the side of a wheelchair, the side of a bed is gonna cause, a
Skin.
skin tear. We have less blood vessels as we get older, so we have less circulating oxygen and nutrients getting into the body. All right, hair growth starts to diminish, color starts to diminish, and we start to lose hair. Photo aging from the sun, all right? You've seen those people that spend their lives in the sun and they get that really dark, leathery skin. Like that lady in the tanning booth, what was her name? Yeah, the tan mom. I didn't know what they called her. Skin becomes very dry and scaly, and remember, because the elderly patient doesn't drink a lot, or doesn't eat a lot, because they lose their sense of taste and they lose their sense of, sense of thirst, they don't drink and they don't eat a lot, and that also takes moisture out of the body and causes dehydration, which makes it harder for skin to heal. And all those wrinkles and sags, of course, are because of decreased skin elasticity. Lesions are considered any type of wound. So when a person has a wound, it's considered a lesion. Right? How you determine it or describe it or really has more bearing on what the wound looks like. Some of the terms that we use for surface lesions are macule and papule. Macules are your flat reddened areas. Papules are raised red areas. Vesicles are blisters or fluid-filled little sores. We see those a lot with chickenpox, shingles. Pustules are crusty little vesicles that are filled with pus instead of fluid. Anything is a lesion. Anything is a lesion. Excoriation of the skin. What's that mean when your skin is excoriated? Like scratches, like when we scratch our skin and we make little scratches in it,